my father was a naval aviator who was shot down and lost right near the end of World War II. I was also a Navy pilot in the 1960s flying off aircraft carriers. And when my mom died in 2007, totally as a surprise, I received this box with 190 letters in it, back and forth between my mother and father. My mother was the life of the party type and a great communicator and very outspoken and outlandish even sometimes, but she never mentioned the existence of these letters. So when I got them, I opened up and read one letter from my father and one from my mother, and I decided immediately that they were so emotional that I shouldn't just read them willy-nilly, but should go through them carefully. And I put them aside for almost a year before I decided to get them in chronological order, read the letters in real time, and write about the process as I read the letters. So the reader's discovering the story as I am. And it took me almost 2 years to read all the letters and do the writing.
Wow. What was that journey like for you?
It was great fun to meet the father that I never knew and to see what his personality was like by reading his letters, because he wasn't able to talk too much about the missions he was flying or anything like that because of censorship during the war. He couldn't even tell my mother what ship he was on. But I was able to do research about his squadron and, of course, World War II and the Enterprise, the carrier that he was flying off of. And so it was an emotional process to read these letters and also just to get a feel for my dad's personality. And not shocking, but surprising to meet my mother at the age of 23 as well.
Wow. What were the most surprising things that you learned about each of your parents over the course of putting together this book?
I learned that my father had a great sense of humor, that he was true blue dedicated to my mother. He was madly in love, as was she. And I guess just the whole sense of family has been greatly enhanced by this experience, because I read the letters not just once, but many times as I went through them, and there are excerpts in the book from each of their letters. And just getting to know what their relationship was like, how much they loved each other, and how hard it was for them to be separated, and the unknowns of being in war and flying in dangerous situations and all of that. It was an emotional ride for sure. I cried on more than one occasion.
Were there ever any times prior to your mother's passing where you wanted to learn more about your dad and sort of fill in some of those blanks?
Well, I've always wanted to know more and was curious, but it was a subject that was hard for my mother to talk about. There were little dinner table stories and general comments as to what his personality was like. And of course, I always wanted to know more about him, but I had no idea that there was a way that I could learn more about him. And these letters turned out to provide that answer.
Do you know where the box of letters came from?
Yes, they were in the attic in the house. My mother had remarried, and in the attic of the house, her husband was going through. He had been sending me a lot of little things for a few months prior to that, and so when I got the box of letters, I didn't know what they were. I didn't even open the box probably for a week or so. It sat around before I opened it and discovered what it was.
So what was your reaction when you finally opened it?
Well, surprise, of course, but also just sort of that I was being given this great gift from the past. Almost 30 of the letters were letters that my mother sent to my father that he never had a chance to open. So when I opened them 65 years later, they had never been opened since she had mailed them to him, and she had never reopened them and looked at them. And as I got them in chronological order, it became evident that it was going to be a mysterious journey.
What do you want readers to take away from your book?
I'm hoping that they will enhance their understanding of the importance of family will be enhanced for them. Someone said this in sort of an offhand way, but it became really true that by bringing these stories to light, we can make people live again. And that's what it discovered for me. It was really like being with my mother and father in real time as they went through these things. And so I'd encourage anyone to get out those old family letters and look through them and see what you can find, because it does bring those people back.
How would you say you were impacted by not having a father growing up?
Well, my mother did remarry when I was 8 years old, and so I had a stepfather growing up, and he was a good man, and I ended up with two half-brothers and an adopted sister and another adopted brother. So we had a big active family life, and I did have a father figure in the house, but I always felt more connected, and still do, to my actual father.